There's a song that's being sung all around the world. There's a sound that's being heard all over the earth. Can you hear it now?
There's a distant melody making darkness flee. There's a rhythm and a beat bringing unity. Whenever God's people agree that Jesus is the Lord and King of Kings. There are battles being won through our songs of peace. There's salvation breaking through, setting captives free. Whenever God's people agree that Jesus is the Lord and King of Kings.
When we worship Jesus. When we shout His praise in the nations.
From churches near and far, His glory's being shown. With broken hearts and lives being now restored. Whenever God's people agree that Jesus is the Lord and King of Kings.
We're a part of a symphony. We're a part of a melody, never ending, bringing healing. We're a part of a kingdom strong. We're a part of a move of God, breaking chains and bringing new life. We're a part of a glorious sound. It's breaking out. It's breaking out. With joy in our hearts, we declare His truth. For we are not ashamed, it is the greatest news. Whenever God's people agree that Jesus is the Lord and King of Kings. There is love and grace received when we lift our hands. When our songs of thanks are sung to the great I am. Whenever God's people agree that Jesus is the Lord and King of Kings. We're a part of a symphony. We're a part of a melody, never ending, bringing healing. We're a part of a kingdom strong. We're a part of a move of God, breaking chains and bringing new life. We're a part of a glorious sound. It's breaking out. It's breaking out. It's breaking out. It's breaking out. We will carry on the song till that final day, till we gather around His throne and we see His face. When all of God's people agree that Jesus is the King, when every single knee will bow and every single tongue it shouts, when everyone finally agrees that Jesus is the Lord and King of Kings. He's the King, He's the King, He's the King. We all agree. He's the King, He's the King, He's the King.
Hey, welcome to ElijahStreams. I'm Steve Shultz, bringing you the voice of the prophets, and today we're going to do a Prophets and Patriots episode. As we do from time to time, we're very, very fortunate to have Eric Trump here. As you're watching this, it'll probably be October 7th because we're pre-recording this. So happy October 7th. And let's go ahead and bring Eric Trump and Clay Clark. So here they are.
Eric called me and said, hey, what are your top 5 favorite Christian broadcasts? He asked. And I said, you got to get on ElijahStreams. You got to do it. Steve's great. You got to get on his show.
Hey, guys. Hey, Eric. Nice to see you again.
It's great to be back on, Steve.
That's so great to have you. This is your third visit. Of course, we've had Laura on before as well. So we love the Trumps. As you probably remember, our viewers love President Trump. We are all in. We're the MAGA, super MAGA, mega, all that stuff. So, and Clay, how are you? Welcome.
I want to correct you. You are ultra super next level MAGA. There's no more MAGA than you. So I'm so.
Is that what it is? Well, this week I was. Because we pre-recorded this, I'm watching President Trump talk to the military guys just a few minutes ago before we came on. I don't know if he's done yet, but yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing. So, Clay, do you want to say anything about your part in this? We're going to ask Eric about this book he's written called Under Siege. Do you want to mention your part in that?
I'll tell you this. I consider myself, Eric, you can correct me. I consider myself to be a friend of Eric Trump, and I'm one of the few people that's been privileged to get a chance to read this book. There's very few of us, and I can tell you as an entrepreneur, it really is a page turner. When you're an entrepreneur, you're looking for business books that make sense. As a patriot, you're looking for a book that will inspire you. And as a father, I'm looking for a book that's going to teach me how to become the best father I can possibly be.
Wow.
And if you look at President Trump's kids, all of them have turned out to be super successful, diligent, reverse Hunter Bidens, or they are the reverse of Hunter Biden. And so I just found the book to be fascinating, and any feedback I've been able to provide to Eric it's been an honor. And I just absolutely love the book as a reader. And so as your friend, Eric, it's been fun getting a chance to read that book before the rest of the world.
All right. Well, Eric, let's jump in then. I guess the first question I want to ask is, what was the genesis of this book? And, was this been a long time coming, a few months coming, or when did you come up with this name and the concept for Under Siege?
Yeah. So first, Clay, you are a dear friend, and I love you dearly. You're an amazing guy. And listen, Steve, we started this whole journey because we want to save this nation. We want to save the American flag. We want to save the Constitution. We want to save religion in this nation. Christianity was being, scoffed at by Obama. The IRS was targeting every religious organization out there. I mean, we were truly under attack, and that's why my father jumped into the race. That's why he did it, as well as the fact that we were dying economically. We had total incompetence in Washington, D.C. No one was working for the American people. Every politician was getting rich. Our jobs were being shipped overseas. And we got into it as a family. And I'll never forget, I came up with the title of this book a couple years ago, even though I only started writing it about a year ago. They put our family, for coming in to try to save this country, they put us under siege, right? I mean, that's what the Democratic Party did. That's what the far left did. They impeached my father not once, but twice. They made up dirty dossiers about him. They made up the Russia hoax, which I was in the center of, that was absolutely fabricated, no merit. They raided our homes. They weaponized the FBI. They weaponized the DOJ. They removed our First Amendment right, our freedom of speech. They took us off of Twitter. They took us off of Facebook. They took us off of Instagram. They removed my father from the ballot in Colorado. They removed my father from the ballot in Maine. They did everything they could to try and bankrupt our company. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history. They weaponized every AG and DA in this country against our family, whether it was Alvin Bragg in New York, or Letitia James in New York, or Jack Smith with the hoax boxes case, or Fanny and her boyfriend in Georgia. They did everything they could to try and destroy us, to try and destroy the movement, to try and destroy my father, to try and separate our family, and hence the name Under Siege. I wanted to talk a lot about kind of, how my father raised us, our family, kind of behind the scenes of all of it, but then the legal warfare that they imposed on all of us. And then they tried to kill my father, right? They tried to kill him at Butler, which didn't come as any surprise to me. This book was already named Under Siege before Butler. I hadn't started working on it.
I was going to ask you about that, because people would think, well, that must have started with Butler or something.
No, it started long before Butler. And honestly, I had the name in my head, and I had an unbelievable journal. And then all of a sudden they tried to kill him on that stage. And I had my two kids on my lap watching as I saw my father's, ear explode.
You were right there.
And I'll never forget. And then obviously you saw what happened at the golf course, what was it, 2 months later. Then you saw what happened to Steve Scalise. You saw what almost happened to Kavanaugh. And you saw what just happened to all of our friend, Charlie Kirk. They want to keep us in a basement. They want to keep us off a stage. They don't want us talking. They don't want us out in public. They don't want us doing what I think my father and really myself and Don and my wife Laura did so well, which we traversed every swing state. We did thousands, not hundreds of events, thousands of events on the stage. And guess what? They wanted to erase Charlie Kirk. They wanted to erase my father. They wanted him off the stage. They want me off the stage. And they did everything they could legally, to absolutely crush us, to, again, hamper our ability to speak. They gag ordered us. They removed us. They took away our First Amendment right over and over and over. They tried to bankrupt us. I probably spent $400 million in legal fees, trying to navigate the Trump organization through all these hoaxes. And so I had to write this book, Under Siege. And the greatest part of this whole story is we were triumphant. We won. We won. We battled through all of it. We had the entire media in the country against us, and and the entire government of the United States against us, and we won. And that's because we have the greatest political movement in history, which includes all of your followers and everybody probably watching us right now. And I had to materialize it in paper. And so I painstakingly wrote this book, and it just went to a #1 on Amazon, and I couldn't be more proud of it.
Well, that's amazing. Now, I wanted to ask you, you said they invaded, even in, I don't know if you used that word, but they basically invaded your father's home in Mar-a-Lago. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
I think I heard that you guys were away at the time. You and your dad were somewhere else, if I'm remembering my facts right. But I mean, did you feel like that was coming? Did you expect them, or was this a total shock, or what?
Steve, it was about 8:30 in the morning. I got a call. I was in my office in Trump Tower. I was there. My father was there. They knew, the FBI knew he wasn't in Florida. They knew based on his movements and Secret Service that he wasn't in Florida. And I got a call from my guy saying the FBI's here. I said, okay, that's fine. We deal with law enforcement all the time as a family. I mean, obviously in the ecosystem that we're in, there's plenty of law enforcement around, and we absolutely adore them. And I go, okay, I don't see a problem with this. No, there's 30 agents here with the search warrant, and I said, wait a second, a search warrant? A search warrant for what? They want to go through every aspect of the house. And they're telling me right now that we have to kill all of our security cameras. Now, Mar-a-Lago is a big club. And I go, what do you mean? They're telling us to immediately turn off all security cameras at Mar-a-Lago. And I go, I'm not turning off our security cameras. No, I'm not turning off our security. I go, tell them to wait till one of our lawyers gets there. We have a lawyer that lives 2 seconds away. And when she got there about 2 minutes later, they made her stand outside the front gates of Mar-a-Lago, wouldn't allow her on property. And I asked them, I go, did anybody tell my father? Like, did my father know about this? And it was my team calling me because obviously I run all our properties.
Right.
And it was just silence. And I go, I'll call him now. And I met with my father, a couple minutes after that in his office. And he drafted up that incredible tweet, which is, the FBI is rating, is now rating my beautiful Mar-a-Lago home. We've never seen. And I said that night I went on Sean Hannity. And you'll remember the FBI was saying that this was at the request of NARA. NARA is the, National Records Administration in Washington, D.C., right? This was at the request. And I go, give me a break, Sean. Does anybody possibly believe that the FBI is going to send 30 armed agents into Mar-a-Lago at the request of a glorified library? Like, give me a break. No one believes this. I go,
Nobody believes that.
This came directly from Eric Garland. It came directly from Joe Biden, crooked Joe Biden. And guess what? His economy at the time was horrible. Everything was horrible. The country was falling apart. And guess what? A year later, we found out, guess who we came from? Joe Biden, exactly as we, and now I get to listen to these people every single day that Donald Trump is weaponizing the justice system when they indict Comey because he lied to Ted Cruz. Like, give me a break. It's so frustrating. But I go into this in the book. That was just another level of the siege. They wanted to raid our home. They went through Melania's closet.
I was going to ask you that. Did they actually go in bedrooms and the whole thing?
Well, not only that, Steve, and I spent a lot of time talking about this in the book, not only did they go in bedrooms, her closet, Barron's room, they took medical records from my father. They took records that were attorney-client privileged from my father. They broke every oath that you have. Guess what? An attorney, they took his passports. They took everything. They took all his records. And then they planted folders, which they admitted to later. They planted top secret folders. You remember those pictures of the classified folders on the bedroom floor? They admitted that they planted those folders, that they brought them for effect. And so this was all part of the siege. It's all what I talk about in the book. And I was in those courtrooms every single day with my father as they read off felony convictions, all of which have been overturned since then because they were sham judges. They got overturned at the appellate division, but they wanted to take out our family. They wanted to take out the greatest political movement in history. A movement that seeks prosperity for this country, that believes in red, white, and blue, that believes in the national anthem, that believes in the Pledge of Allegiance, that believes in church and God in our society, and will fight back when they allow pot stores to be open, during COVID, and are mandating that churches be shut. It's insane. And because we stand up to the radical left, they try and kill us using any means possible, including physical violence at the very end, as you saw better than anybody. And this is the behind-the-scenes story of our family and that fight and how we as Americans ultimately won.
Well, and I was going to say that the more you win at one thing at a time. Your dad, when he first was running, said, "You're going to get so tired of winning." And I thought, I'll take that bet. But you guys have an amazing thing. Well, first of all, you got righteousness on your side. You're not breaking the law. You're doing the right thing. The wicked things that they do are getting so obvious right now that you have a great deal more people with you. And I guess that's as much a question as a statement. To me, it looks like you have a massive, a great deal more of the country behind you than this started before they're invading Mar-a-Lago and all of that. Would you say that?
Yeah, well, zoom out for a second. Not a single person believes that 6'5" men my size should be swimming in collegiate women's sports, right? That is a 99% issue. Not a single person believes that fentanyl should be coming across our border in, by the thousands of pounds. My father's blowing up those boats every single day so it doesn't poison our youth and our societies and our children, as they go to school. That's a 99% issue. My father's right on all these issues. Look at Washington, D.C. He cleaned up Washington, D.C. in 7 days, and then you have Pritzker in Chicago, refusing to allow him to help Chicago solve the 15 shootings that they have every single weekend. These are all 99% issues, and that's why we won the popular vote. We won every swing state. Every state in the country tacked further to the right. We won Miami-Dade by 11%, which had never been won by a Republican. 37 years it hasn't been won by a Republican. An absolute milestone victory in every regard. But you mentioned one thing. You mentioned faith, and you mentioned the journey and kind of your lead up to that question. You better believe that God's been with us in this journey. And Mike Huckabee was the first person who said this to me right after a debate. They goaded every single person on that stage into saying something negative about my father. This was in 2016 primaries. And then they got to Mike Huckabee, and he said, listen, I think he's an amazing man. He's raised amazing kids, and what a family they have. And I can't say a negative thing. And backstage that afternoon, he goes, I really feel the hand of of God on your father. And
Wow, good for him.
Mike said that directly to me. And he goes, my answer probably costs me the debate. But I really think he's going to win. And I think he's being led. And honestly, every single day since then, I've felt it. And I felt it in a real way. We beat Hillary Clinton, who raised $1.5 billion. We practically self-funded our campaign, and we didn't know what a delegate was. We didn't know what a caucus was. We didn't know a damn thing. We built skyscrapers. We didn't know a damn thing about politics. And we beat the largest, political dynasty probably of the century, i.e. the Clinton family. You better believe that God was there. You better believe that God was there, in Butler that day as he miraculously turned his ear at the last moment and avoided getting
I know, that was amazing.
Head blowing off. You better believe God was there when the American flag folded up right above his head at the exact moment in the perfect, in the perfect form of an angel. I mean, I can go on and on with.
Yeah, that's true. Anyone that didn't see that it flipped and caught in a wire or something. I don't know what, but it formed into an angel.
And it formed into a perfect angel. In fact, a story that I'm not sure if I've ever told publicly, but I think it's worth telling here.
Yeah.
One of the Secret Service agents on that stage that day, a very spiritual guy, is a guy who's very close to me. He was the guy with the really good hair right behind my father, shielding him. And he wrote something called the Protector's Prayer. You can look it up online, and it's beautiful. But it talks about the man, please protect the man to my left and the woman to my right. And if you look at the picture with my father's hand up in the air, guess what? There's a man to his left and a woman to his right. And he wrote that prayer a year before, Butler happened. I can't tell you how many just signs there have been that I can't even. God's hand was on my father throughout the whole process.
Well, and you know what? I mean, there's been prophecies about your father that he would, way back in 2007. I know you've heard some of those. Kim Clement is one of those. But I mean, not only was this coming, but it was pointed out that he was hugging the American flag. And this is before I saw pictures of him doing that, which I think was later. But he loves this country.
He does.
And, he literally does. And it passes down because don't you, Eric, you told me before, don't you pray with your kids every night? And don't you have them say the Pledge of Allegiance or something?
I started this before they could properly get out, a prayer, certainly before they could say their Lord's Prayer, because it's a little bit, it's a little bit more difficult. But I was starting at a very young age. I made my kids, they first start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I put their little hand on their hearts. They say the Pledge of Allegiance in full. Wow. And by the way, it was like the greatest thing for their vocabulary. It actually helped them to kind of learn to talk, right? Because they're not necessarily all easy. And then we have these two little prayers, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul.
Yeah, I used to pray that one myself. That was me as a kid.
And that was my prayer. I had an Irish nanny, and every night, her or my mom or my father, we'd say this little prayer. And then my kids call it the Four Corners prayer, but there are four corners on my bed, four angels overhead, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. God bless this bed that I lie on.
Wow.
And so we always do those, and we do the Lord's Prayer. And then I always ask my kids, what's one thing you did nice for somebody today, and what's one nice thing that somebody did for you today? And then I always ask them what they're thankful for, and it's kind of fun as they grow up to see. To see their their thought expand. At first it was like, I'm thankful for mom and dad. Then I'm thankful for mom, dad, the dogs. I'm really thankful for our home. I'm thankful for my room. I'm really thankful that I had the opportunity to go dirt biking with my father this weekend. We had the greatest time together, and I'm thankful for the life that we live. And it's really been a beautiful. When we do that, that's the lights out. Meaning their lights are out in their room, but like they know that they say their prayers, and it's like. It's bedtime, right? There is nothing after that, and it's just a great kind of wall in their lives, and something that
that's amazing. I'm really impressed. Well, I wanted to ask you about, okay, so you grew up with President Trump. He wasn't President Trump. He was dad, right? So was he hard nosed? Did he let you get away with stuff? Was he easy target? Did he make you? What was it like growing up? He must have set you on some sort of course. So tell us a little bit about that.
Listen, I mean, he was tough when he needed to be. You know, but he had very high expectations. Always had very, very high expectations of his kids. You know, every morning, no drinking, no drugs, no smoking. You know, and you better get good grades every morning. I was 6 years old. I didn't know what drinking was. I didn't know what drugs were. Right? You know, I probably didn't really fathom smoking. Albeit you probably saw more people smoking back then. But you know, and you better get good grades. He beat that into us absolutely relentlessly every day. And you know, he was one of these guys, which was amazing when I came into kind of the business world. And I mean, he made us get jobs. There was no free time in the Trump family. Like, you know, like you're going to be working on construction sites and you're going to be making minimum wage.
He was wealthy, right? Still then when you were little.
Listen, Steve, we were spoiled as hell, right? We lived in Trump Tower. We always had a warm room. We always had a, you know, full stomach. And we always went to the best schools, but there was no like free cash being passed around. It wasn't like, you know, here's $500, Eric. Go buy yourself like there was none of that. It's if you wanted something, congratulations, you went and you worked for it. And he was amazing in that regard. There was no, you know, Ferrari at the age of 16 years old. The exact opposite. And all I had a lot of friends that I went to school with that lived that life. They all went down terrible paths. Most of them were in rehab. I was on construction sites. I was running conduit. I was running backhoes and bulldozers.
I mean, Eric, you must have known you didn't need the money, or did you only get to spend what you made?
Only got to spend what I made. And if I wanted a fishing rod, guess what? I went and worked. So it did a couple of things, Steve. First of all, it gave you an appreciation for money. If you bust your butt breaking down walls with a sledgehammer, doing demo for 9-10 hours in a day, you know, and you make $40, you're not going to go out and spend that buying a bottle of vodka. You're just not doing it. It's the pain and the sweat doing the hard manual labor was not worth the bottle of vodka, right? So in a certain way, it made you shrewd. It taught you a skill set. It taught you the building blocks of what we do every single day. Gave you great appreciation for craftsmanship and contractors. Still the people in this world I love the most. I have immense respect for them.
Your dad is that way too, right? When he's on the job site, he's talking to the workers, right?
I call him the blue collar billionaire. It's amazing. Like he likes those guys 1,000 times more than he likes any socialite in Palm Beach. And it's and they light up when they see him, right? He's kind of the epitome of the American dream, and he is the epitome of the American dream. And he'll go up to any contractor. He always went up. It's a great little story. He'd always go up to like the electrician. Hey, bud, where are we on schedule, right? And the guy, hey, man, we're really behind. Mr. Trump, we're really behind. I'm so sorry. They're not giving us the resources. They're not doing it. Then he would go up to the guy who owns the company. Where are we on schedule? Oh, sir, everything's wonderful. Everything's great. We're doing fantastic, sir. He was always really great at being able to dissect, the actual doers and not the bosses.
Okay.
And he loved them. And that's where he learned so much. And we do the same thing today. It's talk to the guys who are installing the electrical outlet. Don't talk to the boss who's sitting 500 miles away in some corporate office who will just tell you what you want to hear.
This will sound funny, but he's actually been instructive to me, not knowing it, because I've watched these clips where he's talking to construction people. And I had a job site at our own building that we're redoing it. And I don't get there that often because I work really out of my home, but it's a big building that we bought. We used to have all of our conferences there, but when I go there, I have a kick of a time talking to the different contractors. What's your opinion? What do you think we should do with that? And I, not pit one against another. I get the different opinions. And I came home. I didn't tell Doreen I learned this from Trump, but I did. But what I told Doreen is, I says, I really got a kick out of it because I asked everybody for some input that made them feel valuable. And basically I learned that from your dad, honestly. So I want to talk about your dad as it relates to, did you grow up with him hearing anything about he hated these endless wars? Was that part of his thinking process?
I talk a lot about it in the book. I mean, I remember so many times we'd be on the plane going somewhere, and I remember a couple vividly, but there was one segment, it was done by 60 Minutes, and they literally brought a reporter into the missile silos up in North Dakota, right? The Minuteman missiles. And, the young missileer is walking them through one of our ballistic missile silos. This phone is broken. We're still using floppy disks. This hasn't worked in years. This is antiquated. And my father's sitting there and he's saying, how in the world could our military be run down like this? And by the way, let's just say it was. how stupid do you need to be to broadcast that on 60 Minutes to
Right.
our enemies all over the world? Let's just say you were totally incompetent and you allowed the military to get run down like that.
Yeah.
Who is dumb enough to send a camera crew from 60 Minutes into the silos? And he would shake his head and say, these people are total idiots. I mean, he said it with George Bush. I know he's on the side of a lot of us on this in terms of being a Republican, but why are we spending $7 trillion on the Iraq war? Like, why don't we just rebuild every school in the nation? Why don't we rebuild our roads and bridges and infrastructure? As every day he watched us build a new school in Iraq or Afghanistan, and then 2 days later, some terrorist organization would take it over. We'd blow the thing up, and then we'd start rebuilding it the next day again. He couldn't believe it. He did that with education. He couldn't believe it. We're ranked 30th in the world in terms of education, and we spend 10 times the amount per pupil. And he goes, how is this possible? How can you spend 10 times the amount on something and be ranked 30th in the world? And he used to joke, the campaign, we spent 1/5 the amount of Hillary Clinton, and we won by like a wide margin. Like, isn't that what you want? Don't you want to spend the least and get the best performance?
Absolutely.
And so, yes, his entire life he would look down. I mean, he's been saying that China's been ripping us off for years. He actually started earlier in the early 90s saying that Japan was ripping the hell out of
I watched that clip from Oprah years ago, or at least 3 or 4 years ago, where he said, are you going to run for president? No, I don't think so, but only if I had to. And I think it was that same conversation. He said, they're ripping us off. China's ripping us off. And he starts listing the countries. I mean, that had to be 20 or 30 years before he actually ran. Was that?
That was the early 90s. He was saying that. Why are we protecting Japan? Japan has plenty of money. Why are we protecting Japan? Like, what are we doing? Why do we have all our troops in Germany? Like, what are we doing? Like, Germany is incapable of protecting themselves. Why is America spending, almost 5% of its GDP to fund NATO? Whereas you have all these countries all across Europe that either haven't contributed in years or we're putting in like 1%. So we're putting in, I think it was 4.6% of the largest economy in the world, meaning our budget. And you had these countries like Germany who was putting in 1%, and they're actually near Russia, right? It was insane to him. And he's sitting there saying, how the hell are they getting away with this? Everybody's talking about free trade. I mean, this whole book is what we're talking about. Under Siege is what we're talking about here. But, everybody talks about, how dare you not have free trade? And he's sitting there saying, it's not free trade. They're tariffing all our products when we send them to Vietnam and when we send them to China. There's no Ford trucks in Vietnam, but yet we take all of their crap into our right, and we don't do a damn thing about it. It's not free trade. It's not fair trade. They're ripping us off, and we do nothing about it because we're asleep at the wheel. And so, yeah, this has been on his mind, Steve, for a very long time.
On the issue of the whole endless war, back to that for a second. He's ended 6 or 7 wars. He's got a couple that are giving him fits. This Gaza one, I don't know, by the time this airs, it might be settled. But with what you know about your dad, is his brilliance ending the war? What goes more into that? His compassion about just he doesn't want to see people dying, or is it at least as much just because he said I'm good at this stuff? He said to the United Nations, I'm really good at this stuff. Does he just realize that this is like a gift from God, that he's just good at ending wars, or is there more? What would you say about all that?
I've personally been there when he's ended a couple wars. He did one in Scotland when he was over there, and I was on the trip with him, and he called the head of two countries, big countries, and they were actively going at it. You'll probably remember exactly what they were at the time. And he goes, guys, knock it out. Like, knock it. You are big trading partners with the U.S. If there's violence, you're not going to trade with us. You're just not. Like, stop it. This is insane. And I heard him in a span of 15 minutes. He ended a major conflict, which was fastly eroding. You'll remember the artillery shells were going over the border, and this was Thailand and Cambodia. And I saw him end a war. And listen, as a father, I told you a little bit about my kids, but as a father, you watch these videos on YouTube every night. They pop up on everybody's screen, and you see these two beautiful young kids. They're 19 years old. They come around a corner in a trench, and 2 pounds of force right here, and a burst goes off from a machine gun, and it expunges a life of a beautiful kid. I see how much time I spend raising my children. I see the kisses I give them every night, the prayers I say to them every single night, the love, the attention, My son was running our neighborhood the other night because he got into trouble, right? And I'm literally following him in a golf cart as I'm making him run with his old football, and he's just doing laps and laps and laps. The amount of endless direction, nurturing, tough love, all of that you have to give a kid. And then you watch a trench warfare where somebody pops around a corner, and in an eighth of a second, a life is expunged. And you're seeing there why does this need to happen? And it's heartbreaking. And I can't tell you how many people are alive on this planet, mainly young men, but how many young people are alive on this planet based on him ending these conflicts that were getting totally out of control. Now, Barack Hussein Obama is the one that's getting the Nobel Peace Prize, ironically, even though those guys have started every war. Donald Trump is the only person who's never brought us into a war. He's done everything he could to keep us out of wars, and yet he's the one guy who won't get a Nobel Peace Prize. But it's and that will change. I mean, Steve, change. But
there was a woman I know, woman of God, basically, but she had a feeling she was wrong because your dad hadn't been elected yet the first time, and she goes, "I'm not going to vote for President Trump or for Trump, because he'll have us in a war in the first 100 days. And I thought to myself, based on what? You've heard this man tell you what he's going to do and what he's going to end. And so, I mean, she just got it wrong, period. I'm sure she's long over it, because she says the whole world knows he hates endless wars. And
he's like the most anti-war guy. I mean, you saw that from the Iran strike, right?
Yeah.
He wants to do the exact opposite. He wants to have the greatest military in the world. So if we ever have to go to war, we can end it in about 3 seconds. We can come home and we do it so decisively and so destructively. But look at Iran. I mean, Iran was going around, they were beating their chest. They were launching missiles. They go in, they hit 3 sites and devastatingly hit those 3 sites. And they were destroyed. Their air defenses were destroyed. We could have gone in. And guess what? He wanted nothing to do with it, right? Like, he didn't want regime change.
That was fascinating to me, Eric, because I thought, man, you're there. Why not? What is his thinking that he doesn't want a regime change when they're wicked and they say death to America? And what is the thought on that? I mean, I'm not saying he's wrong, of course, but I'm just saying, why? What is his thinking?
I mean, you've got a leader that's 86 years old, whatever he is. Okay. Everybody around him is dead. I mean, this is my guess. I'm not in government, but I mean, what, you do regime change and you put in a 30-year-old radical who's got more energy, more spunk, and more fire. Like, I don't listen. It hasn't worked out well over history.
Yeah, it hasn't.
Saddam Hussein was a terrible person, but look at the status of Iraq. After that government crumpled, it got much worse. Right? You can go around the world and you can see 100 examples of exactly the same thing. Again, I'm not saying that these are good people. They're, in most cases, they're absolutely horrible people. But oftentimes, the adverse consequence to doing so actually leads you to an even worse or more unstable situation, as we've seen time and time again. But either way, I mean, forget about that. He also doesn't want to see America spend trillions of dollars, dropping bombs on countries, only to go rebuild those countries, only to drop bombs on them, and only to rebuild the countries.
Yeah, back and forth. Do you want to talk a little bit about the devastation starting September 10 of Charlie Kirk, and how has that affected everybody, and how has that changed? I mean, I think we've been to Turning Point with our whole booth there a couple times now, but I sent the people ahead. I didn't go, so I didn't really know that much about Charlie. He did sit for an interview for our cameraman three weeks before he was killed. And so then I started watching his videos after his death. I mean, I had no idea the depth of this guy, but didn't you grow up with him or something?
Yeah, I've known him for the last decade, and Charlie was a great guy. And Under Siege, my book, came out 3 days before his assassination, and I decided to pledge a nice percentage of the proceeds to Turning Point, because listen, at the end of the day, Steve, they want us off that stage. They don't want us on that stage. They don't want my voice on the stage. They don't want my father's voice on the stage. They certainly didn't want Charlie on the stage. They don't want Don on the stage. They don't want you on the stage. And this book literally came out 3 days before, and it would be a great final chapter to Siege. This is what they wanted. They tried everything. They tried to silence us. They tried to, they tried to laugh at us. They tried to implement every bit of legal lawfare against us. They weaponized the DOJ. They weaponized the FBI. They tried to impeach him. They tried to bankrupt us. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history. And then they tried to kill that man right there. And then they tried to, obviously they tried to kill Steve Scalise, and they did kill Charlie Kirk. They want us off that stage. And so, yeah, listen, the whole concept of the book is the siege, the inside stories of the siege, and how ultimately as a nation we won. And I think it's a very motivational book. I think it's a very inspirational book to anybody who's going through hardship in their life. I think you'll get to about the 5th chapter and you'll say, oh my God, like I didn't think a family could ever kind of sustain the the amount of arrows that they stuck in.
He said multiple times, I'm willing to take all the slings and arrows for you, because if they're not coming for me, they're trying to get to you. But they have basically that amazing thing. But well done in that book. Let's bring Clay back here in a minute. Clay, I'm going to have you offer that offer in a minute. But one more thing before he tells that book offer. We have a few more minutes. Do you want to just talk about? Clay thought I might ask you the question about what your actual duties are at the company, and how big is the Trump organization? Because I really don't know either of those answers.
So Trump organization is a many billion-dollar organizations. We've got the greatest real estate assets on planet Earth, the greatest hotels, the greatest residential buildings, commercial buildings, hotels, golf course, hospitality, many of the best estates, all over the country. And we operate on most continents at this point. I have 26 deals in development right now under some form all around the world, from Australia, all over the Middle East, all over India, Europe, South America, obviously all over the United States. And we do hospitality better than anybody. We also believe in crypto in a very big way. When I started getting debanked by all the biggest financial institutions, I started a company called American Bitcoin. I am the biggest believer in cryptocurrency.
Well, I am too, but I had gotten more XRP, but I see you really are a strong proponent of Bitcoin. It has occurred to me that if Bitcoin doesn't wildly succeed, neither will any of the other cryptos. They kind of have
Bitcoin is modern gold. It's modern gold. It's something that's 24/7, 365 days. It's something that every family wants. It's something that every Fortune 500 company is looking at. Many of them have begun treasuring it. The biggest sovereign wealth funds are all hoarding it. It's been probably the greatest single asset class in the last decade. For the last decade, it's gone up roughly 70% a year over year.
Wow.
And the floodgates are just opening, Steve. I mean, the floodgates are just opening on Bitcoin. I started a company that's traded on the NASDAQ. It's called American Bitcoin, and I think we're doing it better than anyone.
Oh, that was trading American Bitcoin. Is it an ETF or what?
It's not an ETF. We're one of the biggest miners, and we're a treasury strategy, and our sole goal is to accumulate Bitcoin. And we trade on the NASDAQ. And,
really?
and I said, when I came up with the name, I go, it's very simple. It's got to have the word Bitcoin in it, because I believe in it probably more than anything. And it's got to have the word American in it, because I believe in that more than anything. And, one of our partners said, hey, why don't we call it American Bitcoin? And so the ticker symbol is ABTC. It's the coolest ticker symbol, because I think it's the first ticker. I think it's the first ticker on the NASDAQ.
Brilliant. I mean, you guys have the favor of God on you. I'm just seriously, the right pieces fall together and the right person has the right suggestion. What was I going to? Oh, I own some World Liberty financial stuff, WLFI. I got in when it was $0.015, so I'm doing very well. It's not trading that actively right now, but it is on Coinbase. I got a bunch in the wallet thing, and it doesn't want to move from that. So it's just accumulating right now. I don't know.
I don't know, Steve. Right now it's around 20 cents. So I think you did. I think you should be giving the crypto advice here, because you're
flipping so well. I didn't see it coming, Eric, and I thought, well, maybe they're not going to do anything. And I put a couple tens of thousands of dollars into that at $0.015. And all of a sudden I looked, and you cannot even believe the total. And I'd never made an offer. I'd never made a return that high. It's like this thousands of percent.
Oh. Hey, by the way, my entire heart and soul is in World Liberty, and we have the fastest growing stable coin on earth right now. It's called USD1. And so I'm happy I made you. You're fighting very hard on one side of the coin. I'm happy I was able to make you a couple bucks on the other.
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, people have said, one of the things we talked about when I said we couldn't get WLFI to do anything for a while. It was just stuck. You couldn't buy it, sell it, trade it. You just could, well, you could buy it, and that was it. And so I said, but look, this is the Trump organization. They're not going to let people buy all this and then take the money and run. That's not what they do. That's not who they are. So I sat on that for, it must have been a year or something, when all of a sudden
you got in early. But no, that's exactly right. I mean, you want people to be, committed to long-term viability. There's too many of these projects where somebody buys one day, they dump 3 seconds later, right? That's not who we are. We're all.
Yeah, I'm not a trader. I'm an investor. Which is the right thing to do. So, what would you,
Steve? I can't believe how much you know about cryptocurrency. It's amazing.
Well, I've been doing it for a long time. The trouble is, I used to own 15 Bitcoin, and back in 2017, I just decided maybe it wasn't going to go anywhere, and I sold it. It would be worth a couple $1 million by now if I hadn't sold it. But I mean, I put it back into other crypto.
I would have been shaking you if I knew that you're going to offload that.
Yeah, I was way back then. Were you into Bitcoin way back in 2017?
No, you beat us to it. You beat us to it. But I've been involved 3-4 years now in the crypto space, and have enjoyed every minute. And for all your viewers, I know we're getting totally off subject here, but it's watch in 3 years, watch in 5 years where the crypto world is. I hope crypto replaces every banking institution in the country that was so punitive to every single one of us, because you were getting debanked, I was getting debanked, all of us were getting debanked. And that's because we believe in God. That's because we search God. You had churches that were getting debanked because these horrible institutions and their woke DEI policies. And honestly, I hope cryptocurrency replaces every single one of them. There's nothing that cryptocurrency can't do better, faster, cheaper, more efficiently. And I hope the day of reckoning is coming, to the banks.
I heard you talk about the debanking and what they did to you, and then you were doing that all in the context of World Liberty Financial. And that's why I thought, okay, these guys are in this for a long haul. They're for the long run. You're not getting in and out of something quick. So,
Steve, as part of the siege, I talk a lot about this in the book. I go into this painstakingly, what they were doing to people. You'd have somebody who would search MAGA. You'd have somebody who would search God. You'd have somebody who would buy a Bible on Amazon. And these people were losing banking. And by the way, they were getting on target list by the IRS. You saw this under Obama, where Obama was going after every nonprofit that was affiliated with a Christian cause. And targeting the hell out of them. They weaponized our government under siege. This is the siege that I'm talking about. The siege was happening from 1,000 angles all at one time. And, it's the worst of the United States government, what we saw. And I'm just happy we broke the siege and we won the battle. That's awesome. That's the entire premise of this book.
Well, I need people to get this book. We need them. Let's bring Clay. Clay's got you were going to tell us about an offer or something. What do you got planned there, Clay?
I have a big stack of stuff here going 90 miles an hour. We're going in Trump time here. We're bringing some energy here. So first off, if you're watching this broadcast right now, imagine that you could be at Mar-a-Lago reading Under Siege. Think about it for a second. What if you could go to one of the most exclusive properties on the planet and be reading Eric Trump's book, Under Siege, while enjoying a dinner with Eric Trump? Well, now you can do it. So here's how it works. You buy a copy of Under Siege, but you got to buy it before October 14th. You got to buy it before October 14th. If you're watching this show, you love the Trump family, buy a copy of the book. If you have a Democrat in your life, buy a copy of the book for them too. And then once you buy a copy of that book, you just text a proof of purchase to my cell phone number. This is my phone number, my cell phone number. I said, Eric, can we text your cell phone number? He said, don't text my cell phone number. So I'm the backup plan. You text my phone number, 918-851-0102. And Steve, for all the bilingual listeners out there, it's 918-851-0102. You just text a proof of purchase to my phone. And what that does is that enters you into a drawing for a chance to win a dinner with Eric Trump and myself at Mar-a-Lago. Now also, if you said, Clay, I really want to win this thing. I'm in a tight spot. I can't afford to buy the book. I understand that. You can also simply text my number for a chance to win. So you don't even have to buy the book necessarily. This is a drawing, and I'm going to be announcing the winner. We're going to do hotel and airfare, fly you out there to Mar-a-Lago for dinner with Eric and myself. It's going to be great. And there's more. You also are entered in to win a backstage pass to attend the business workshops, the business growth conferences that Eric Trump and I are doing throughout this nation.
Nice.
One being December 4th and 5th. So if you have a small business, a medium-sized business, any business at all, and you're saying, I want to grow this business, you can learn branding, marketing, social media, accounting, financing, hiring, all the systems and processes. It's December 4th and 5th in Anaheim. So a recap, a dinner, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with Eric Trump and myself, backstage passes to an upcoming business workshop. And to learn more about that business workshop, you can go to thrivetimeshow.com, thrivetimeshow.com. But again, all you have to do, buy a copy of the book, text proof of purchase to my cell phone number, 918-851-0102. Or if you say, hey, I want to enter the drawing, but I can't afford to buy a book right now, we get it. Text the number 918-851-0102. Also, you might have missed it earlier, Eric is donating a portion of the proceeds to the Turning Point organization to continue to perpetuate the legacy of Charlie Kirk. So it is going to be awesome. And Eric, I've only been to Mar-a-Lago a handful of times because you've lowered the standards on a couple occasions there. But for anybody who hasn't been to Mar-a-Lago yet, could you share what it's like to be at Mar-a-Lago there, sir? Clay, you're the greatest. Listen, Mar-a-Lago is the most exclusive property probably in the world right now, right? $2 million to join, a sold out, waiting list that's a mile long. One of the greatest patios in the world. My father's often up there DJing. We'll go and we're gonna have a great time. So Clay said that. He goes, for my listeners, for my group, I want to do that. I want to do this little thing, and I'm gonna mention it everywhere. Buy a copy of the book. By the way, Steve, I'm hell bent on getting a #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. They're going to do everything they possibly can to keep me off that list based on how bad the New York Times has been to us. And
Yeah,
we came out of the gate hot. I mean, we were #1 on Amazon in virtually every single category. And honestly, beyond that, it's an unbelievable story of America, of a movement, of a man, of a family, of all of us, of every single person listening to right now. So go on Amazon, get your book. Text Clay, and hopefully you'll be having dinner with us in Mar-a-Lago.
that would be great. So, well, Eric Trump, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. Hopefully you'll be here many more times. And Clay, thank you so much for helping to bring Eric back. It's always a pleasure to have you guys both here and talking with us. So much to talk about. I wish I didn't cover most of my questions, but there's so many interesting things to cover. So Eric, thank you so much. You did good. I appreciate it. Well done on the book too. So I'm looking forward to getting a copy myself. So you guys have a great day. Thank you again, both of you. And we'll see you guys later. Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Bye-bye. Well, so that's it. We brought Eric Trump and Clay Clark. Clay, as you know, did the Reawaken conferences. I've been there a couple of times, speaking at those as well. Reawaken America, they had one in Salem that I spoke at, and one in Las Vegas that I spoke at. So, and Eric would come to all of those. So I tried to meet him one day. I was in the green room that he came in. He didn't know me, and I'd never met me. So I got about 10 feet away, and he was done greeting the people, and then it was time for him to leave. It was kind of a green room tent thing, so he ended up leaving. But then since those days, we've had him on now 3 times, and Laura's been on, and love those guys, love President Trump. So it's such a special thing to get to know these guys and see how they really tick behind the scenes. I had so many more questions, but we'll get them on the next time. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. When you're watching this, it should be October 7th. That's when we're allowed to release this, because I think they're timing the releases on these. So have a great day. We thank you for joining us, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.